Hello everyone, welcome to another one of my videos. This is going to be, well, as brief as possible, guide on how do you actually make your own builds in Path of Exile. This is gonna be a guide for beginner players who get extremely overwhelmed the first time they see this passive tree. And they really shouldn't, because once you understand a few key concepts, it actually becomes, well, kind of trivial, I would say. And I'm not an overly experienced player myself, so the goal of this video is, well, I would like to have had this kind of video when I was starting. It would have helped me a lot. So how do we simplify all this? Well, we simplify it by talking about character archetypes first. On top here we have the witch. This is the archetype or the class. Its main attribute is intelligence. Defense includes energy shield, and offense, as you can imagine, it's a lot of spell damage, elemental damage, and magic, right? The next basic archetype is Ranger. It's right here. This is the archetype with main attribute is dexterity. Defensive capabilities include a lot of evasion and quickness, and offense is, well, ranged weapons and ranged combat, right? And on the left here we have Marauder. This is our barbarian, let's say, archetype. This is the class with primary attribute strength. Its defense includes a lot of armor and HP, and offense it's mainly physical damage and melee attacks, right? So in between all these main classes we have three more, as I like to call them, subclasses. So here is the Shadow. It's a mixture of Witch and Ranger. Its attributes include intelligence and dexterity. For defense, it has evasion and energy shield. And offensive capabilities are, well, as you can imagine, mixture of ranged combat and spells. It also specializes in traps and damaging elements, like damage over time. Basically, it's a mix between Ranger and Witch. So Ranger and Spellcaster. On top here we have the Templar. This is the mixture between Spellcaster and melee fighter. So mixture between our Witch and Marauder. Its attributes include intelligence and strength, and defense he gets a lot of energy shield and armor, and some block chance. And for offense it specializes in both melee attacks and elemental and magic damage, right? So, and in between Ranger and Marauder we have my favorite class, which is the Duelist, right? His attributes are a mixture between strength and dexterity. Defensive capabilities include a lot of armor, HP, and evasion, and offense he specializes in both range and melee combat. So every character has its own ascendancy, as you can see here, these three. So once you figure out what kind of class you would like to play, you can actually use a tool like this, like POE or Path of Building or something like that, and you should read through the ascendancies. These define how your build is going to be played, right? So let's take for an example champion, right? No, you should read through all of these, and what seems attractive to you, you should just pick it and play it. I'm gonna use champion for an example, right? Just an example. You should pick and use. You should pick ascendancy yourself and class, and you should use what you learn in this video to make your builds. I'm gonna choose Master of Metals. That gives us Impale. So okay. First we use Duelist here, pick and select champion ascendancy, right? So this is your starting point. Every character has one. Ranger is here, Marauder is here, Templar is here, Witch is here, and Shadow is here. So how do you simplify all this? Well, you see this part here. How do I actually? You see from here, 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 and here. So basically this part of the tree belongs to the Duelist, right? And if you're talking about simple builds for you as a beginning player, you can actually get everything you need just in this part here, without ever needing to go anywhere else, right? Maybe like one or two nodes, but you get the gist, right? You can get all you need from this part here. So I'm gonna choose my ascendancy. You unlock ascendancies as you play through the campaign and finish your labs. You can have maximum 8 points. So I'm gonna pick my Impales, Fortitude, Unstoppable Hero, and Inspirational. So I'm going to, for beginning, I'm going to oversimplify it. So every build should have, I'm gonna call these notables, right? In our passive tree, the bigger ones, right? So you can write this down if you want. It's gonna be, if it's gonna be easier for you to remember. So every build should have 4 or 5 life nodes, notables. You should have 4 or 5 offensive notables, one that gives you damage. You should have 4 or 5 defensive ones. So as I said, this character class has armor, evasion, armor and evasion as it may defensive classes. And you should have some utility. So what do I mean by utility? Well, okay, let's actually get back from that. So you choose your starting point, you go either left or right. What do you feel is better for yourself? As I said, you shouldn't really be overwhelmed. Like, the point of all this is for you to have fun. Right? To be honest, like, for a majority of the players, this part is the most fun for us. Yeah, the theory crafting or builds. So we pick our basic physical damage. So this part here, basically first few nodes for every character, contain a lot of the basics you're gonna need, right? So I'm gonna pick this, and we use our formula. We're going to need 4 or 5 life and 4 or 5 offense. Let's start with that. So we actually, you can use a tool like this. You pick life. Okay, so what gives us life? This is region, this is life, this is life too. Okay, so we go through here. Melee physical damage is also useful. You pick some life, more life. So this is attacks, which is interesting. You should, if you have notable connecting to something you chosen, you just look at it. If it looks interesting to you, just pick it. So let's plan our build according to life. So we have life here. Let's go down, right? This is life leash. You should just read the notables. So we need maximum life. Okay. When I say life, I mean maximum life. So you should pick maximum life. So we have it here. Let's say just click like this, right? Without any big planning, right? Okay. We have life here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say 4, right? I said 4 or 5. Okay, we're finished with life. So what I said next, it's offense. So what build are you playing? You're playing melee physical. Okay. Let's say melee. I misspelled that. So physical damage. Okay, and you read with two-handed melee weapons. So let's decide right now at the spot that I want to play two-handed melee weapons, right? You also can play one-handers or dual wield, but for the purpose of this video and example I'm going to give, let's pick a two-handed weapon, right? So we pick this one, as I said, 4 or 5, right? What do these give us? Increased physical damage and attack speed, a lot of damage also. Okay, let's pick this. We have one close. What does it say? Overwhelm, 20 physical damage reduction. And you actually get an explanation here. Physical damage reduction is lower against overwhelming hits, but cannot go negative. Okay, so this helps our physical damage. Okay. Where else can we get physical damage? Also two-handed. Okay, let's pick this. Just go like this. And once I say 3 or 4, okay, let's, for the purpose of this example, pick one more. Okay, one more. Okay, kinetic impacts. Increase physical damage also with two-handed melee weapons. Perfect. So as I said, if you have notables close to your ending points, you should just read through them, right? So we have Heart of the Warrior, so it gives us strength and maximum life. Sounds interesting, let's do it. So you have another one close here. You can pick it, you can, if it sounds interesting to you. Let's say we take it, right? So we've finished with our offense. What do I mean by defense? As I said, like armor and some resistance. Every character So you should think of this passive tree as a complement to your gear and the build and the gear that you're carrying. So if you lack some sort of, so just a complement, right? If you have like 60% all res on your gear, you should add the rest from the tree. So just a way to complement your build, right? So we actually type here resistance. Where do you have nodes with resistance? To all elemental resistance and accuracy. Okay, let's pick this. What else gives us? Oh, this gives us both elemental resistance and armor. And I said 4 or 5 defensive, so rest we need armor. So we type in armor. Okay, where can we get it? Here, here. This one seems closer, so let's pick this one. Just for an example. You have we can pick this one too, and let's see this one. So we covered our life, resistance, armor, and offense. And let's get back to the basics. As I said, you should have 4 or 5 life, 4 or 5 offensive, 4 or 5 defensive. We said that this character duelist, his defensive traits are evasion and armor, and every character needs to have resistances, right? So when you are using defense, when you are trying to put defense on your skill tree, this is how you should do it. So resistance, your main defensive layer of your character. So if it's energy shield, you put energy shields. If it's armor, like here, you pick armor. If it's evasion, like on Razor, you pick evasion. You get the gist, right? And the last, I said utility. So what do I mean by utility? So here you get stuff like leech, like this is basically your lifesteal from other games, right? So put leech. Where do we get it? Aha, it's really close. Okay, so let's say I pick this one, and maximum damage leech is life, right? This is one point of utility. What I meant by utility, right? Stuff like leech, and the most important thing about utility, that this is the only one that every single character should have. I would say mandatory. You need reservation. So this is mana reservation of your skills. This helps you carry more auras, right? So where do we have it here? Okay, let's read. We have it very close. Okay, pick this, and this reservation. And we have one in mana. How do we get this closer? Okay, it's here. And use mana reservation. So you should get from the tree minimum like 25% of mana reservation. And every part of the skill tree has this. So don't get confused by it. In this part of the tree you have it here, and every part has a mana mastery for every character. Like duelist has one here, and reservation here. And Marauder can use it, like these two are connected, right? And Ranger has it here, as you see, mana reservation efficiency, and also has mana, right? And also here. So Witch has it here, life reservation, she has mana reservation, another mana reservation, and here. As you can see, every part of the tree has one or two mana has one mana reservation node, and has mana mastery, like we have here, that has as its mastery 12% increased mana reservation efficiency. So you should get this on every character. And we touched another important subject, masteries. So once you put on your skills one of these notables, you get unlocked mastery inside it. So how do you know what to pick? Well, basically you just read it. As I said, this is supposed to be fun, all of this process, right? And if something sounds cool to you, you just pick it. Okay, let's read to the reservation mastery. Okay, so auras from your skills have 10% increased effect on you. This is a really cool one. I would pick this one, right? Life. You pick 50 maximum life. Sounds simple enough, right? You click this. So leech mastery. I don't know, if you want, just read through it. If something sounds fun to you, you just pick it. Same goes for accuracy. armor. Oh no, as I said, you read and basically pick what you like. So you might have noticed things like this, jewel sockets, right? So this is actually a socket inside your passive tree. You get jewels by playing the game, and you can actually socket these jewels inside of your passive skill tree. So you should take one or two, maybe three of these. So where do we have it? We return to our tool and we type in jewel. Okay, we have one here. We pick it. We have one close here. And this one isn't kind of close, but if you want you could use it. If not, then basically you're fine as it is. Okay, we covered the basics. So if we're talking about offense, right, as I said, you picked 4 or 5. So how do you actually, we are talking about build planning, right? So every offense should have okay, let's talk about it differently. You should figure out what type of damage would you like to do. Actually, we made a mistake here. This one. So every offense in the game, right? Damage. You have types. So we can either scale. Let's talk again. We are talking about duelist, right? Because talking about everyone would take a gigantic chunk of time. Let's talk about duelist, right? So he does physical damage. So you can either scale flat physical. So we are talking about ways to improve your damage, right? If you're talking about physical damage, right, duelist. So you should think about it this way. You can scale flat damage, like your hits. You can add critical strikes, if you're talking about physical damage and basically all type of damage. Or you can scale damage over time, right? So in this example, we are using champion. We are and we want to use critical strikes, right? So we type in critical strikes. So where do we have it? We have it here very close, right? And where do we have it? Also, we don't have much close, right? We found one. And we eventually get into another point of our build planning. You see a node right here, or something like here. You should figure out what type of weapon do you want to play. Let's say I want to play swords, right? As you can see, because I want to take critical strikes, and this node is reserved for swords only. So okay, according to this, I should play swords, right? So this passive skill tree is going to help me figure out what type of weapon do I want to play. Okay, so we picked swords and critical strike, and once we figure out what type of weapon, you should just, again, we return to our search, type in sword and search for sword masteries, sword notables. We have one close here. Okay, we pick it. And that's basically how you think about offensive capabilities about, in this example, duelist, right? As I said, you can either scale flat damage, or you can add critical strikes or damage over time. Our ascendancy doesn't do damage over time, so we chose critical strikes. But let's say for example, if you picked gladiator, you would look for nodes that give you bleeding and damage over time. It's actually just use this formula and that's it. You need 4 or 5 offense, 4 or 5 defense, and some utility, right? That's it. So how do we think about defense if we're talking about build planning? Because just elemental resistance and, as I said, armor, maybe some evasion, but that's not enough. So if you see guides on YouTube and stuff, they say like you need how they say, avoidance, mitigation, and recovery. That's just a lot of complicated words for this. You need 3 layers of defense, and in my opinion, for beginner players, you can pick any type. So if you want my suggestion, you pick armor, and we have that covered, right? We have resistances, we have that covered, and you get to pick the third one. So I'm gonna give you some options for so basically type of defense that every class can have. You can have type of extra defense. You can have blocks, and that requires you to carry a shield. You can have energy shield coupled with your armor on top, right? Another form of defense, and this really interesting one called spell suppression. So basically energy shield, spell suppression, block, and final one specific to melee characters called fortify or fortification, right? You can get it from skill gem, or you can also get it from the tree. So fortify, we search for it. We have one here. So how do you get fortify without a skill gem? You pick your mastery if you want to have fortify. But then again, I return to our ascendancy. We get fortify for free here, 20 fortification. But if you need it on some other, like say here Slayer or you pick Gladiator, you can pick it from this tree right here. And if you don't want to use skill gem for it, you can pick this mastery. You see, melee hits fortify, 3 to the maximum, -3 to the maximum fortification. Okay, so what else could I use? As I said, we have fortification, block, spell suppression, energy shield. We cannot get energy shield, we are way far from the top of the tree, and the gear we need doesn't really have energy shield on it. So for us it's either block or spell suppression. As you remember, we decided to go with two-handed weapons, so we cannot carry a shield to give us block. So only other form we can get block from is we either go dual wielding, which we decided not to do, or we pick something else. So what's left in our case is spell suppression. So spell suppression is basically, well, to be honest, is the best form of defensive layering in Path of Exile. So what is it? Let's type in suppression. I mistype. So we have notes here. So what is spell suppression? You see, it's explained like everything. This is a cool tool. 50% of damage from suppressed hits and ailments they inflict is prevented. So to simplify this to layman's terms, like I am a layman, this cuts spell damage you take in half. And it's a really cool defensive layer. Okay, so we add it to our tree. We have one close here. We pick it. Mastery, if you want, this one is really cool. Chance to suppress damage, spell damage is lucky. I'm not going to go into detail, but if you're picking this is a cool one. Or +3. You can actually research this and like choose what to do on your own. And we have also suppression here. What does it say? 15% chance to suppress spell damage if you've hit an enemy recently. Okay, we pick that. And we have one here. Basically this is enough already. But if you want, remember I said we should plan like 115, so to be level 9, we have 9 points left to spare here. So you can either add some offense, but you don't really need it. We have more than enough. I said 4 or 5, we took more. So you add a little more spell suppression, like here. And this tool will tell you, you have 48 chance to suppress, but we have 15% here if we hit an enemy recently and we are constantly hitting. So you can basically think about this as you are having 65%, right? And the rest you get from gear. So basically we are level 89 already. We planned our build easily, and basically this is it, because level 89 is far into the late game, and the couple of points more you're gonna get, you well put in whatever it feels cool for you. As I said, this is for beginners, and this is to help you plan out your journey in Path of Exile, right? So if you are using a tool like this, you click here and just click Save as New, and you give it a name. Well, I'm going to use test, and you save it. And that's it. You have your own plan. Now, when you start playing the game, you have this tree. You just open your website, and you basically pick skills in order which we picked them. So let's get back to it. The formula, right? You need 4 or 5 life nodes, which we have. You need 4 or 5 offense, which we have with physical, crit, and stuff. You need 4 or 5 defensive one layers. So we have armor here, armor and resistance. We have our spell suppression, armor here, and with the utility, as I said, we have leash over here. And as I said, the only mandatory thing that every build should have is mana reservation or reservation efficiency of skills. We have one here, and we have one inside our mana. And I repeat, reservation exists on every part of the tree. You have one here, you have one here, you have one. Where is it? For which I lost it. Yeah, here. You have one here, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, basically this is it. So to repeat and sum up, so 4 or 5 life, 4 or 5 offensive, 4 or 5 defensive, utility, and rest however you see fit. This is the basics of how you make your own builds. So as I said, this is the beginners, right? So this is for all the players who want to figure out how to do this stuff on their own, right? If you enjoy theory crafting, I just gave you an example of how you could do this. And to return to our main theme and subject of our video, to how to make builds. So the best way to learn, in my opinion, is doing it like this, planning something on your own. But once you get to level 89, here comes the main thing, right? In learning process. You picked your ascendancy, you picked your build, you planned it out on your own, you played it. Now you open a content creator on YouTube and find the same skill that you are playing and your same ascendancy in class, and you open their POE, and this is how you learn. So then you compare your own tree to theirs. That's how you learn. So you do it on your own, and after you're already a high enough level, you can do it even before 89, right? You can do it on level 80 or 75. Then you open someone else's build, someone who is more experienced, right? And you compare notes basically, and you figure out, aha, this is how they do it, maybe I should have done it like this. And basically you compare it, you see where can you improve, or maybe where you think you did it better than them, right? And there's a lot of videos on YouTube about how do you make and plan your own builds, and you have a lot of build guides, starter guides. I have a couple myself, and basically that's the best advice I could give you, right? You plan out your build your own, as we talked about here. Then after you're level 70, 80, maybe even plus, you open up a build guide from someone else, and you basically compare notes, compare how you did compared to them, and maybe you learn something new, or not, or maybe you adjust your tree according to them, because at this point, level 89, you're gonna have 30 or 40 orbs of regret that let you swap your passive points. You get them by playing the campaign, and you adjust accordingly. And this is, again, I repeat, this is for people who actually want to learn how to do it themselves, right? People who enjoy the theory crafting part of games, right? If you're one of those people who is fine with actually choosing someone else's build and just copy pasting it and using it in your own, that's completely fine. That's good, even useful, right? This is just a guide for people who want to figure it out on their own. Because again, in my opinion, theory crafting is one of the most fun things you can do in this type of games, like figuring stuff out, planning, and testing your own builds. Anyway, this is it for this video. We used the Duelist Champion for example. I hope this gives you a brief overview of how you should make your own builds in Path of Exile. And if this video helps you in any way, shape or form, consider leaving a like. If not, then you don't need to leave a like. Anyway, have fun with your league starts and learning Path of Exile. Goodbye.